Hey, book club besties. From Scrubs to Book Club, we're two burnt-out healthcare workers who love to yap about books. I'm Katie.
And I'm Star, and welcome to Aimless Attention Podcast.
Today we are talking about The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. This is the second book in the Moonfall series, the sequel to When the Moon Hatched. And boy, oh boy, was this a fantastic and difficult book.
It's so good, but there was too many times where you're like, what?
It was, I was a little worried just because of how, like I told you this, when the title was even announced. I looked at you after you'd read When the Moon Hatched, and I was like, I'm worried just by how lyrically she writes and how, like, I don't know, like, down to like the basics of writing she is, that just putting the word ballad in it freaked me out. I was like, this is gonna be really sad, isn't it? And then everyone was posting online just in tears, and I'm like, yep, there it is. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but man.
I knew it was gonna be a tearjerker. Inside I cried.
Yeah. I didn't actually cry until the end.
That's when I figured you would cry. I told you were going to be like, at the end. Because at the end, I was like, last night, it was funny because I don't know if you woke me up or if I woke up right before the message. Yeah. But I was like, got up and I was like wandering around the house and the cat's following me. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I looked down at my phone and I was like, like I literally, like the cat's like, what the fuck is wrong with her? But I couldn't stop laughing.
Maniacally
because
laughing.
Like, it was just too funny. You were like, I was dying. I was like, yes. I was like, she finished the book. Like, I was like, this is how it's supposed to be.
So I'll throw out there, this is a spoiler alert for all of the Moonfall series, the two books that are out for the Moonfall series, When the Moon Hatched and The Ballad of Falling Dragons, because there's no way we can talk about one without the other. Yes. And we will go into plot spoilers. So just keep that in mind. When the Moon Hatched took me, I think, 2 weeks to read because it is so, like, it's like we were talking about Tolkien earlier, is Tolkien level fantasy, essentially. This is a actual high fantasy book with a romance built into it.
Yes.
So, like, giving it the title of, like, romantasy, I feel like kind of, I mean, not that to say that romantasy can't be, like, this big enveloping world, but I think it, because of the perception of what romantasy is, it underplays just how beautiful the world building is in this book. And
you definitely, if you do it on Audible, have to get the PDF because there's so many different worlds like that you're like, where the hell are we?
Yeah.
Like
I had a few things where I had to I when I would read When the Moon Hatched, the glossary is what kept throwing me to go like, I'm not reading this book. This is too much. And I finally read it and I just skipped the glossary. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read it. I'm just going to immerse myself. It's like, you know, like a Spanish immersion class. Like I'm just going to dive in and I'll figure it out as I go along. She's mentoring this weird hairy creature. Sure. I don't know what that is. Moving on, you know, like that is how I had to go through these books. But I did actually find myself going back into the glossary and be like, oh, what is this? Oh, I remember now. Like,
yes,
it was super helpful.
Well, it's not just helpful, but it kind of gives you like more, like you can visualize it better because you're like, oh, well, that's what they were like. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're at. Like, because like sometimes you're just like, where are we? Like, where, like, hold on.
Yeah, because we
read another book like that too, where it was like, you're on one spot of the island and then you move to like a different, and then you were like, wait, hold on. How did we like, so yeah, it gives you more like grounding.
Definitely. I did find myself, because especially since this book has a lot more travel in it than the first one. The first one, they were primarily in the burn. Yeah. And then we had flashbacks to Elwyn in the shade. And then like Raeve initially when she starts out, initially in the shade with the Undercity and all that kind of stuff. So we got like little bits of it, but this one's like, okay, you're in the world now. We're going everywhere. And so I was sitting there like, where is this? And why? Who is that? Okay, Kadok's over this one. And
that's what I was doing.
Tyrot's over here. Like, okay, Austen was her dad. Like, I was like,
no. And I think in the beginning of the audiobook, it's like, please download the PDF. And I was like, nobody needs to download that. And then I was like, yes, you do. Like, I was confused at a couple points. I was like, hold up. I was like, where are we going?
I also, there were characters I forgot. So Grimm, I was like, who the fuck is that? Even though we like just covered When the Moon Hatched and we just read it, I was sitting there like, who is this character? And then I was like, oh, right. He's the one who's going to get the new egg. And I was just like, okay. But there were also, so we had new character POV. So the last book we had at the very, very end, we got the Scavenger King, which was the introduction to our big bad villain for this series. And then beyond just the fact that Kaan has like ruthless brothers that are also problems.
Ruthless.
And then we had Raeve primarily with Kaan. And this one we got a lot more Kaan in the book. Oh, we also had Vea. And so
Vea was interesting because the people that it was a dual narrative. So like they did multiple voices. So you had to really be paying attention. You had to be like, who are you doing right now?
Yeah, because
not that their voices weren't like good or anything. It's just when you're listening, you can kind of just like zone into like, you know what I mean? Like, and then I was like, wait, hold on, that's a different person.
Yeah. No, I didn't get a chance to listen to the audiobook this time with how closely this had released. So this is airing in July, but we read this pretty soon after it released. Yes. And it took me a while. Like I said, When the Moon Hatched, I think took me a week and a half or 2 weeks, something like that. And usually when I'm working, I usually get a lot more reading done. And that's primarily because like I'm a mom at home. So like I don't have a ton of time to just sit down. But when I have my lunch period, I have like time to just sit and read. And on my breaks, I have time to sit and read. So I can get quite a bit done for the 7 days that we're working. And that was not the case with this. Like we had like so many times where I would just start to read it and I'm like, my brain is not awake enough. Like my brain needs a shut off period. And this is not like a fun little contemporary romance I can jump into.
This one definitely had me even like, rewind. What just happened?
So let's get into the story. So we left off When the Moon Hatched with the introduction of the Scavenger King. So we had known that Raeve had all of these runes on her body that were illuminated by dragon fire, and she intentionally would avoid, she was scared of fire in general. And we got a little bit of the sneak peek of the fire lark that she had been, where she was burned repeatedly over and over again. And that's where she got the healing runes all over her body. And then we got the Scavenger King, who we find out is the half brother of Kaan, the older brother, the oldest of the Vaegors, essentially. But he was a bastard child, and Oster Vaegor would not accept him as his son, especially because he only hears one of the creators. He only hears Ignos, which was one of Kaan's issues he had with his dad too, because Oster didn't like that he only had two of the creators, Boulder and Ignos. Vea is their sister, the youngest sister, or the youngest child, I guess, of the Vaegors, and she only hears Boulder. And then Tyroth and Kadok, I don't remember what Kadok has, but Tyroth definitely hears Boulder. And he's got to hear something like two more. But I can't remember. But Kaan got like thrown to the plains to go train with that tribe because of all of his inability to hear.
The fact that you can remember any of what they remember. Like, I'm like sitting here like, I know that they talked to them, but like I was like the fact that you remember their names, I was like
the only reason I know that Tyroth wields Boulder is because that's how he kills.
I know, Elowen. But like it's still like I don't know. My brain's like the fact that you can remember even half their names. I'm like, try again. Like their names are ridiculously hard for me to remember just because they're so like
they're very fantasy names.
Yes, which I appreciate that they put effort into the names, but I can't remember them. Like, I remember Rave's name.
I remember Raeve and Kaan.
That's 100%. I'm like, yes, that's all I remember. I was like, but it's just their names. At the time, I can't remember my son's friends' names. He'll be like, so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da. I'll be like, I need a picture. Who is this?
So we opened this book, and it's from the creator's POV of Raeve being tortured under a mountain.
I know, this one just...
By the Scavenger King.
Yeah, but like you literally start the book and you're like, oh my fucking God. Like you like literally were like, no lube for you, buddy. Straight in.
Yeah.
Just take it.
It's true.
I was like, no, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, so we know that at the end of When the Moon Hatched, all of our characters were kind of scattered to the wind. So so we have Pyrock and Kaan were back still in the burn, and Kaan had turned to Raeve because Zaros had escaped, and he had said chase death, Moonbeam, because that's what you do when you chase revenge. You know you're not chasing life, you're chasing death. She leaves to go find Rek, and he lets her go, not only because trying to keep her back's not going to work, and also because that is like a piece of her that needs to get fixed. Is Zaros needs to die.
Yes.
He had done all that damage to the Moonplume Lyri, and so Lyri's a problem because now Lyri's upset at Raeve, and that's going to come back into things. So Raeve goes off to go hunt Zaros. Grim, who was the second in command to Kaan, we had seen at the beginning of towards the middle of When the Moon Hatched that his dragon had died, and they found out that the one of the great saber scythes had laid a clutch of eggs, and he's like, I'm gonna go get one of those eggs, and they're like, Khan's like, you're gonna die, but okay, man. So he's off doing that. Vea, we left off, and she was just leaving Tyroth's quarters, pretending to be that pregnant mistress, in order to get Eowyn's diary. She now has Eowyn's diary. And she has to try to figure out how she's going to get back to the burn to go find Kaan and Raeve and drop all of this massive lore that she's just discovered. And Kazari is in the clutches of the Scavenger King. So Kazari is, at this point, we believe to be Kaan. Well, we don't believe because we know, but Kaan believes to be his niece and is Raeve, Eowyn's daughter. So that is kind of our recap of where we were. Raeve is in a battle with Slatra, trying to get back up to the surface because Rek is her kill, not Slatra's. But Rek, at this point, Raeve still isn't acknowledging who this other is. We as a reader have recognized at this point it's Slatra. We don't know how this has happened at this point. She's in a battle with it. She wakes up and Rek is just beat to shit, torn apart. Like, the other went to town on this. She has a carter that's like helping her get around places, and the carter's like, well, damn. And Ray's like just still throwing daggers into his face, and like she ends up like decapitating him so that his soul can't come back. And then Kaan is being soft-hearted Kaan and worrying about everyone. And we actually see him. He is at a tri-council meeting because, well, first he's talking to a waif, Borg, who he keeps in a jar that Borg doesn't like.
Right.
And the waifs are these like mist creatures that have a network of other creatures that they can like fade into the mist and they can talk to and they can get information through. And then they feed off of like memories and your soul and that kind of stuff, like taking sips from his soul. So throughout Kaan discussing with Borg different things is how we kind of get more of Kaan's backstory. So in the first bit, I believe the first like throwback we get for him is some of the torture that his father had with him, of like how he would torture him and his stutter and everything, and how he would like get buried under Boulder and he'd have to try to get out, or he'd get burned by Ignos and stuff and have to control the flame.
Yeah.
Like horrifying. But he's specifically asking for information on where Vea is. He's asking for information on Kazari. And then he ends up actually seeking out information on Eowyn, which is something he told Borg he never wanted information on, but he wanted to know more about Eowyn, primarily if she was bound when she left to go to the burn to go to the Fade to bind with Tyroth.
Yeah, the whole thing is crazy.
Yeah, because Raeve had left, or Eowyn at the time had left the letter that's basically like, you are a lesser king than Tyroth is, and I'm leaving to go be with the person that will give me better offspring or whatever. Basically, it's like what the gist of it was.
Yeah.
And then he's also looking for Rowan, I believe is how it's pronounced. I didn't listen to the audiobook, but I'm not sure. But he is like his alchemist or whatever, that he specializes in runes and everything. And he's looking for where he is. And Borg's like, so fun fact, he is going on trial. So he goes and he has to go with Pyrock. We found out it's Pyrock's younger brother. And they're like sitting in the tri-council meeting and he's just like not doing well. And he ends up getting sentenced to get fed to this creature that like feeds on souls so that like nothing can ever come back, because he had been looking at the Book of Void. He had gotten past the runes that were protecting the Book of Void, and he was reading it and then it disappeared. And he's like, I swear it literally just disappeared. And they're like, fuck it, yeah, right. Like, no, it didn't just disappear. So the Tri-Council's pissed at him. They sentence him to death. And then this is where we're going to get our Raeve and Kaan reuniting, because Raeve is like, this fucking Rexaros the fuck is going to... I love how Raive's always like, the fuck at the end of everything. Love her so much.
Yes. Secretly deep down inside, that's me.
Yeah. She goes down to dump his body so that this thing eats him. And then Rowan is getting sacrificed to this thing, and Kaan and Pyrock are going to go save him from that. So that is, I think it's the Anthe or Anth, whatever, however pronounced, is what they're getting fed to, which is this like creepy thing. But they also find out while they're in Botham, where Rowan's in prison, is that a Muskin, who like they're the ones that see the future, has a vision about multiple moons falling, And the last time there was a moonfall was Slatra, and it caused a ton of damage. So they're like, if multiple moons are going to fall, this entire world doesn't exist.
Right.
Like, we are done for. So there's a lot going on in this book.
So much. Like the every time you're like telling the story, I'm like, I read this. I swear I did. It's just so much going on that like even if you're like completely like you're still like yeah.
So what I like about the interaction they have with the Anthe, where Raeve ends up, she opens herself up to Rain, the creator Rain, who she intentionally avoids all the time because she's so sorrowful.
Yes.
She doesn't use Boulder because she's not like as good with Boulder at this point. And Claude is like obviously her like number one girl. She loves Claude. I love Claude too. I think Claude's so fun.
I was waiting for you to say it. I was like, Katie's gonna be like, yes.
I still think if I had to talk to a creator, I would probably choose Claude just because she just seems, I think, although she might be really annoying, but like, I don't know how I can handle like Rain's sorrow all the time.
The funny part is I feel like Rain probably lives in my soul. That's probably who, like, I'm like,
Rain would talk to you and you'd be like, go away, Rain.
Yeah, I'm 100% like, how do I medicate this out of me?
And then Boulder just seems like broody.
Yeah.
And Ignos is just like, yeah.
I feel like Ignos is my alter ego.
You know,
like,
Ignos,
set it on fire, stab it in the eye.
It feels like Rain is like every drama ever.
Yeah,
and
no,
then like
I think that Rain lives in me, and I think my alter ego.
I guess I picture Ignos as like a monster truck rally.
Oh my god! I'm just over here like rah,
crush him.
That's what I'm like, yeah.
That's exactly what I picture Ignos is
so
like.
funny.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That is hilarious.
That we get to see Raeve open herself up to creators because this is the moment where Raeve chooses Kaan. She's like, I will not let him die. There's no way I'm ever going to let this male die. And then he ends up like helping rescue her from the Anthe in the end. And it's like this point where she's like, why did I ever think I could just not be in love with him? Like staying away from him doesn't work.
I think this is when I like died a little inside. I was like, it took you too long. It's a whole fucking book already.
I feel like Kaan spends all of his time being like, just give me something, like anything. And like even during this interaction, he's like, there's those walls I love to slam myself up against. I'm just like, Kaan.
I was like 100%.
He just wants any piece that he can get of her because he loves her so much. And I mean, I love that. He's the best. He's become one of my favorite book boyfriends because he just genuinely, he's such a good person in general. I mean, he obviously can be a lethal killer and all this kind of stuff on top of it, but he just so genuinely, like, wholeheartedly loves Raeve in a soft way. It's not like a violent way like we see with a lot of men in these books and stuff. It's just genuinely like, he'll destroy the world for her, but he's so soft for her. So, anyways,
it's just the way you said it.
Kazari is in prison. She has the Aether Stone on, obviously, and she's actually. It was so sad to watch her try to talk to Kalis because she's in love with him. And we'll find out later that relationship has gone further than anyone expected. But she's just like becoming hopeless and she's like trying to talk to him, but she has iron shackles on, so she can't talk to him. And then Nee shows up. And Nee was the parchment lark that followed Raeve around that said, like, I need you, that Kazari had sent off forever ago to hopefully find her mom somewhere in the ether. And it did.
This broke me. This is when I was like, if I could cry, tears would come out of my face.
I know. And Raeve had written in the Moonhatch, she had said, no, you don't, and folded the return fold and sent it back to Kazari. So Kazari gets that message in the cell in the Scavenger King is, no, you don't need me. And she's like, my mom's not alive, so somebody just intercepted it and did something. So she doesn't look too far into it, but this lark won't leave her alone. And
this killed me, I'm telling you. I like died.
I love Nee so much.
Yes.
That is where Kazari's at this point. We will get like snippets of Kazari throughout. But she's not gonna be a massive part of the story other than like seeing kind of her hopelessness and like her kind of falling down until Vea gets there. So Vea is trying to get out of Erythia. She gets through like a cave system, and then she ends up finding out that her Carter and her dragon were caught by Tyroth's men. She ends up like escaping, and she runs into Tyroth, and she's in his dragon's den. And this was actually the first one that I thought I was going to start crying about, because Tyroth lets it go that Vea was actually the one who killed Eloin's family. She was the one who poisoned him. So Ostern had like done what they had, used a mind weft or whatever to like make her compliant during this time to go kill the Navans, because his Muskin had foreseen that she would be bound with one of his sons or whatever, and would create like a whatever, so like it's the all power and everything else. And so she kills them, and Vea doesn't remember this until Tyroth tells her again. And then she's trying to escape. She gets like sliced up her back by a spear from Boulder with Tyroth, and he essentially nearly kills her. But the thing that ends up saving her is that there's a big hole that gets built out of the wall to where his dragon can see out. And his dragon hasn't had like fresh air or anything in forever. And so he just, because it's a saber scythe, right? I think that would make sense because they live in the Fade. So molten malls can go back and forth, but the saber scythes can't live in the Fade, and the moon plumes can't live. So it makes sense that he would be stuck underground in a warm area. So he's like, I just want to go home. So then he grabs her by the claw and he severs the bond with Tyroth, and he's like, fuck this, I'm out. And so they leave, and he ends up dying because he can't make it across the plains because he's the saber scythe trying to get through all this like snow. And that was what almost made me cry. I was like, I haven't met this dragon before this.
It killed me, but I figured there was like a reason that it needed to like get him where, you know what I mean? Get her where she needed to go or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And he ends up, Baron is his name. And he had been obviously tortured by Tyroth and just not treated properly this whole time, which I just feel so bad for these dragons that just end up with these people that are just, or these fae that are terrible. Like Tyroth obviously went and took his egg and then like raised this thing, and that's all Baron's known as this awful human or awful fae that's just tortured him and everything. And then like Lyri, who was just, I don't think she was raised from an egg by Rek. I think he just commandeered her, and then it was just like awful, and he like abused her and everything. So but Baron ends up tucking himself into a moon, and he dies, and Vea now has to walk the plains by herself.
Yes, but I felt like when he did it, like he was intentionally trying to save her. Like that was how I took it.
Yeah.
So it sounds terrible, but like he knew he was going to let himself die to save her, at least to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was, I mean, the hard part is like how he knew he couldn't go far, but far enough to get away from those horrible fucking people.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the hard part, was just trying to like, I just don't know. When I read it, I was like, this hurts, but not, I think the lark hurt me more than anything.
Oh my God.
I was like, how dare you?
Me just devastated me. One of the things I love most about this book is Raeve finally decides she needs to confront all of the horrible things that have happened to her in her life, because we'll learn throughout that Fallon, when she woke up in Scavenger King's lair and she didn't have any memories, and Fallon was there to teach her and help her. She was like, when things are hurtful, you can just push them down, but eventually you do have to face them.
That's what my therapist keeps telling me. I don't believe you. You're all liars.
But
until it bubbles up, right? Till the bottle explodes.
Until the icy lake breaks and your other comes out.
Oh my God, my other's been out for a while. Maybe that's the problem.
That's the issue, is we're all dealing with your other.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is that Raeve finally, and it's primarily because she wants to do right by Kaan, is that she's like, I have seen who he is and how good of a male he is, and I want to be a person that can be with him, but the only way I can do that is if I open up, and I have to actually face things that were hard in my past. And I really like the journey that Raeve goes on, because we first see it when she goes back down And she starts to relearn Boulder's language because they need to get out of Botham, which has these huge stones, walls and everything. And she's like, I'm going to have to speak to Boulder, even though I don't want to. Because Claude is easy. Claude is like she's giggly, she's light. She is easy to talk to, easy to please. Boulder's super broody and reminds her of Kaan.
I'm sorry. I just had a thought and I was like, no.
You can share the thought.
No, it's all right.
Share it with the class.
It was too funny. No, because the person that I was going to say would probably stab me because they would know 100% who they were.
But with her diving down into her lake, what she ends up doing is if she touches Slatra has stones down there too, and those are Slatra's memories. And so we get to see bonding with Eowyn what happened because Haedion had gotten the egg and they were hiding in the hutch and everything, and he had hurt his legs and he was like unable to do anything other than try to shelter that egg. And when it came down to it, Eowyn, who was like 9 or something like that,
she was young.
She was super young, was defending her brother, and Slatra was upset that her egg got stolen, obviously. But she comes down and she's like, this tiny thing is working to protect something she loves. And she's like, she kind of marveled at it and was like, okay. So she ended up helping kill the Doomquills. And when she landed, Eowyn just climbed onto her back. And she was like, huh, I like how brave this little girl is.
I don't know about all that, but stupidity is the real thing.
But she looked at it and was like, this girl will do anything to help her brother and to help the person she loves. And she's like, that is something admirable that I like in this person. And so that ends up, like, Eowyn ends up taming a full-grown Moonplume, which is crazy. And that doesn't happen. You gotta find a baby that's impressionable for it to be easy for them. So it's almost impossible for a mature dragon to be tamed. And we'll see Raeve do it twice. We'll see it first with Slatra, and then we'll see it again with Leary. And I think that just goes along with Rave's characters that she'd never, even when she has like no memory or she's trying to avoid hurtful things, she still doesn't necessarily choose the easy path. Like when she ended up joining the Ath, that wasn't like an easy path. Not that it was kind of forced on her, and it was all like a big scheme by the Scavenger King in the end, but like her sticking with it, her deciding not to just follow the missions, but to say, I want to get these younglings out, or I want to do this as well, was beyond just like, I joined this thing because I had to and I'm just doing what I have to survive. So I think Raeve has a softer heart than she likes to believe she does throughout Star.
I was like, nope. Nope. Stone, buddy.
Do these characters feel a little too close to home,
it's
sir?
Stone. As soon as you said my name, I was like, rock hard.
Rock hard. So she helps get Kaan and everybody out. And she even says like to Kaan, you're mine. And Kaan's like, this
girl,
is the
she knows
best
what she
day
wants.
ever.
She was like,
Kaan's like,
this is when
everything.
Katie was like, yes.
I literally was, because
love wins.
I hate the whole, like, what I really dislike is when you like finally get a couple together and they're like, and now they're separated, and you're like, come on, we just spent the entire book trying to get them together. So I was a little worried when we had Raeve and Kaan going their separate ways at the end of When the Moon Hatched, that we'd spend the entire fucking
Raeve
book.
Still hadn't decided that she wanted to be with Kaan.
No, she hadn't.
So she needed to go find herself.
Yeah.
This is why this book bothers me. I'm like, dare you, Katie? I have to find myself.
No, but I do like that the way that this happened is that like she, she's been off doing her thing. She killed Rek, and honestly, she's like, I don't feel that much better after I did this. Like, I feel like I killed him, but I don't feel this like overwhelming sense of relief or that this weight off my chest is gone. And she's like, even her fingertips still itch. She's like, there's nothing that has stopped. My bloodlust is still there. And so she's like, this didn't fix the issue.
Oh, I'm telling you, hot poker to the eye.
Hot poker to the eye. Well, I mean, she is bleeding out of her eyes and nose and ears at this point.
I know, I'm just saying.
The creators. Raeve tells him that she has decided to care.
Because who doesn't care?
The Fate Herder's back. I love the Fate Herder. I want the Fate Herder to show up for me sometimes. Just like, I want this like big fluffy thing with tusks to just walk up to me and be like, scoot your boot, dude. I also think like something that irritates me a little bit about these characters throughout this book is multiple times where you have the Fate Herder, you have the Muskins that are telling you, I saw this thing, go over here to make this happen. And they're like, I don't want to do that. And you're like,
I'm 100% that stubborn. And like you said to go there, I'm going the other way.
That's exactly it. Like Vea at the end of this book, I'm like, Vea, just go where Uno said to go. Go over there.
I don't know, dude. I have like hardcore, like I think it's like just being a female. Like I'm just like, how dare you tell me what to do?
That's also true.
But it would make you smarter to be like, oh, my fate should go that way. I don't know. Think about it though, like for 20 seconds, if you had to like as a female, do you feel like if somebody tells you to do something, is you telling me that like I can't think of the word right now, that
I want to do the opposite or that I don't want to listen to them?
Yeah, but what's the word? Like I keep wanting to say arrogance, but that's not the word.
Yeah.
Defiance. Like the defiance in you is like, how dare you tell me what to do? I think that's what it is. It's more like just like my mother burned her bra for you. I'm going the opposite way.
The funny thing for me about when the Fate Herder shows up, though, is that Raeve is still convinced the Fate Herder was trying to get her killed. In When the Moon Hatched. And I'm like, it was literally just to get her back to Kaan, but it's like she's not willing to accept that was the purpose of it.
No, because she's smart. No woman wants to be, don't tell me I love him.
That is not why. Fate Herder is like, hey, go this way. And then she ends up finding the Book of Void that disappeared from Rowan. And Rowan's like, I told you. It just disappeared. And so Rowan's like, hey, we have the Book of Void. We need to get out of here. They were trying initially to get to where Kaan's like mother's dwelling was underneath Botham, where they knew they'd be safe from the falling moons. Rowan ends up causing a big issue while he's on trial because he's like, so the runes are their moons gonna fall because there's a bunch of runes up here that are gonna protect us. And the Tri-Council's like, fuck this guy, he's dead. Because they were trying to not let anyone know, first of all, that they know that the moons are going to fall. And second of all, they don't want people storming the city to try to get in and to be safe.
Yes.
Which is exactly what happens.
I mean, it's the only logical idea. Like, why would you...
We had, when Raeve and her Carter were getting there, there had been like all of these parchment larks that were trying to get past just to go deliver this. And Raeve ends up taking one out of the thing. And she had been told by Kaan already, hey, the moons are going to fall from the sky, tell no one. And she was like, dope, won't do that. And then she like grabs the parchment lark, opens it, and she's like, well, hey, Carter, so all of the moons are going to fall out of the sky. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And we have about 15 cycles, and then everybody's dead. Just so you know, Kaan told me not to tell anybody, but now I'm telling you because obviously everybody else knows now. So you should know too. So and the Carter's like, dope, just another day in my life. They're trying to like escape, and there's a bunch of molten maws that have now are cornering them because they figured out they're trying to escape. And Raeve shields them with like hardened air, and Claude's pissed. She's like, this is not a new trick I wanted to learn. Like, Claude is like, this is not what I do. Don't ask me to do this again. She will ask Claude to do it multiple times. And every time she asks Claude to do it, she's like, Claude's angry at me. Claude can't believe I asked her to do this yet again.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. And then Raeve ends up, so she does that. And then Kaan ends up taking a bunch of pins to his back. And what they had done was they had blown a hole in the wall, which drew a bunch of attention to them. And they used Kaan's blood to try to get out. And it worked. However, it like drained all the energy from Kaan. And so not only was Kaan drained from making this rune, he also got pinned in the back a bunch of times. And Raive's angry at him. She's like, you don't throw yourself in front of me. If you die, I'm going to be really bad.
Fucking women. I wonder why men are like, fuck these females.
But Raigan shows up, and we get to, we also saw like Raigan taking over Kaan a little bit with like because they have that like bond, and so he has a little bit of Raigan's flame in him, but like his skin cracking and the flames coming through, I was like, damn, crazy. I just like all of the just world building in this book is just insane to me.
It was just so much that I'm just like, I don't even know.
I'm like, I keep losing the plot because I'm like, oh my God.
No, I know. As you're talking, I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I remember that. Like, where are we? Like,
how did we get here? I'm trying to remember like all of the actual little puzzle pieces.
I know. And the hardest part is that like trying to keep up is like, okay, I remember that, but like shit, because the book, like, especially when you do it on Audible, it's like not really chapters. It's so fast that you're just like, and then this happened, and then I was like, yeah, that happened. Like, but was that before or after? Like,
I know. But Kaan ends up ordering Raigan to burn it all. and they burn down.
Burn, bitches, burn.
Bunch of stuff. They end up flying away on Raygun, and they have Pyrock's dragon as well. And Pyrock is like, I don't want to carry Rowan. He's pissing me off. It's just like, and Pyrock's drunk like usual. And they end up in Balloon. I didn't listen to this, so I'm sorry if I don't know this, but they end up running into Kaan's cousin, Saharna. She's super pregnant, and that's going to be a massive thing that's coming up here. But we find out that while they're like getting shelter from them, that not only are they in like this protected, like it's like a canyon almost that's like protected from above so no one can actually see down into it. It just looks like more mountains. This reminded me of Valaris a bit in ACOTAR.
Yeah.
Which just because we're going to start covering ACOTAR. So I was like, oh my God, this is like that ACOTAR. Which is not a unique thing to ACOTAR. It's just something I could compare it to. But that's what it reminded me of. She's another daughter named Corey who's older, and her pa had died recently, and he had not told them where they were going, he was going or anything like that, but he ended up dying and not returning. And so she's really struggling with the loss, and she is upset a lot of the time. She can't fall asleep because he used to sing her to sleep, all this kind of stuff. So we get the return of Kaan playing the loon, and Raeve being like, oh, this was something that is comforting to me, and I don't like that it's comforting to me, and it's bringing up memories
like
I don't want to look at.
When, like in the first one where she was like crying during rain, and like he was just staring at her like, oh my God, like just let me love you. Like, just let me love you.
Yeah, Kaan's like, I'm gonna go sing to her, and
it just makes me want to like hit her though. Like, because it's not like he's a bad guy that's trying to love her. He's a genuinely nice guy that's trying to love her.
Yeah.
It's like the first time I want to be like, get the fuck together. Like,
there's so many times where I'm like, Kaan. I just want to hold his hand and be like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you love her so much. And she's honestly so mean.
Oh, God. Katie, one day
so
Katie's going to be wanting to hold some guy's hand for me. Just don't worry. I promise. She's soft in the inside. Just give her a minute. Break the exterior.
Just
I
break
swear.
the ice.
She's really nice. Katie's like, God, she's nice, I swear. Just love her a little more.
Oh, man.
And just wait for that day.
Just be patient with her.
Just wait for that day. We're podcasting one day. Katie's going to be like, it finally happened.
I held his hand and I told him to be fine. But she ends up running out into the snow, and she's like, she can feel her others just ready to come out, because the second she starts remembering things, she's like, she dives down, and out comes the other.
Sorry, I was just thinking my therapist right now would be dying. God damn it. How many times I have to tell you? We don't go down, we come up. We talk about these things.
We don't tie it to a stone and drop it on the lake.
No, I'm totally like, bury it deep inside. Colon cancer, here I come.
That's why this book bothers you so much.
So
You're
bad,
like, stop
dude.
it.
I'm like, how dare you? Every time Raeve talks, I'm like, shh. I can hear Katie in my head going, see? The therapist on the other side going, I keep telling you.
So you're not actually Winter. You're actually
I'm both. I'm Winter's exterior and Rave's like interior.
Exactly.
So this is bad. Literally the whole time I could just hear. I have like the, it's like the therapist on this side and Katie on this side. I keep telling you.
Oh my God. But she runs out into the snow, and that's kind of her first realization. So she's already like, I have to choose Kaan. I don't have another choice.
Yeah.
He's always going to be there. I can't stay away from him. But this is her first recognition of, the more that I try to run away from the things that Elowen did in her life, the harder it is going to be for me. Like it's just going to all pile on me until I explode, and I can't just keep running from it. It's going to follow me no matter what. So I can either face it, or I can try to be on the run for the rest of my life, and it's just not going to work.
The run. Just keep going.
Run.
Just keep going.
So she ends up just kind of going and freezing her ass off for a while, and then comes back inside.
She's out there screaming, I don't want to fucking remember.
I don't want to do this. And she walked back.
That's what I really picture, though. I picture her in the snow, like on her knees, just screaming, just, I don't want to do this. Like,
pretty much. And Raeve walks back in, and she's got an iron pin in her leg, I think. And she walks up to Kaan, who's like sitting there getting the pins taken out of his back by Rowan, and she comes up and puts her foot in between his legs and like rips the pin out and then walks off. And then they're all just staring at her like, she didn't even flinch.
Be like, I was like, it can't be like, that's gotta be like when they were doing it when the moon hatched. Remember when he was like, she was just like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
my brain was like, no, bitch, like sedate me. Like I need to be sedated. I need to not know this is happening. We don't have time. Just rub some ointment on it. I was like, fuck off.
Well, and then Kaan's like, they're getting their, she goes and sits and starts stitching up her own wound, and Kaan's watching her like just a fucking predator off to the side, like, this bitch. So then he gets the last,
Kitty says that as if he wasn't like, yes.
Well, he was like, hell yes.
I'm gonna take that one to bed tomorrow.
Just in a second he will.
I know,
so
but
he tells her she's stunning, and he gets all the pins taken out, and Rowan's trying to like mend him. And he's like, everyone out. And Rowan's like, I really need to stitch these. And so he takes his fire weld and just cauterizes them close. And he's like, everyone out. And they're like,
I need this woman right now.
Yeah. So then that's when they start doing it. And then he goes down on her, blah, blah, blah.
The sex scenes in this one did not bother me. Like, they were not.
Because they're really plot driven.
Yeah, but they weren't like.
They're not very descriptive either.
No, she did fine though. Like, you knew what was happening, but it wasn't like I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't gross. It wasn't like, and then she licked my pussy. I don't know. It was just like
there's
like,
a choice of words that like there's a way to talk about it to where you understand anatomically what's happening without being like clit, slit, pussy. You know, like
it was nice. It was just a nice, like, even I listened to the full thing. It wasn't like, I don't know. I just get tired of like, my hard cock into her body. I'm just like, okay, cool.
And so he ends up, they have this like really passionate kiss. He ends up going down on her, and then she's like ravenously trying to get them undressed, and then he goes to unlace her boots, and then that's when she falls back into a memory of her ceremonial boots from her binding being taken off by Tyroth. She can't tell it's Tyroth, but she knows it's not Kaan.
Yeah.
And she pulls back and is just terrified because she's like, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this in this memory. And Kaan, of course, being... This is what really, like, this was my first one where I was like, oh my God, because... Like, it reminded me of my ex, and I was just like, like, I don't get a lot of like triggers in books, but sometimes like this specifically, where you're just like looking at someone looming over you don't want, I'm just like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like that really triggered me, and I was not expecting it. So she asks, if she kind of looks back at Kaan and is like, was Elwyn bound to someone else? And he was like, yes. And then that's when she tells Kaan that Elwyn still loved him when it happened. And that just blows Kaan up. Because
what are you going to do? Like, you literally have loved this woman for fucking however long, right? And then she's like, I loved you back. What are you going to do at that point? You're just going to be like, thanks.
Because Kaan...
Now I'm going to be on my fucking knees, like, crying.
Yeah, because Kaan believed the letter that said, I don't love you. I'm going to Tyroth because he would be a better sire for my children.
But it wasn't her that wrote it, right? I don't remember.
It was her. She left it on she ends up having, I think she falls into the memory in here where she remembers putting the lark on his pillow and leaving.
Why do I not remember that? I don't know. Maybe I read it too fast.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, and Kaan was like, I wasn't enough for her. And
I do remember him thinking that, but I was like, I didn't realize that she said it. So, because some reason she keeps going back and forth and like being like a hard ass to being a softie, that maybe I just assumed she didn't actually write it. Like she was just, maybe that's how I read it. Mm-hmm. I read it as, no, she didn't write it. She was just trying to like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that. Mm-hmm. Made stupid fucking decisions.
So Leary ended up following them, and Leary's pissed. Leary's really, really angry at Raeve for leaving her when she needed her most, because when the moon hatched, she was up in the like cave she was nesting in and was helping kind of nurse her back from the emotional and physical wounds that she had from Rexaros. And then all of a sudden Raeve just disappeared. And Leary is not happy with it. Leary's super angry at her, actively tries to kill Raeve a few times. And then Kaan's like, if you're going to go out there, you two things are gonna, either one, you can lose yourself, because he's like, people don't just tame mature dragons. He's like, you did it one time, but you were 9. You didn't know what you were doing. You just went for it. He's like, now you're a mature woman or mature female with like a lot of issues that you're not willing to face.
I mean, she's facing them deep down inside.
She's not facing them yet, but having to talk with Kaan and also having to go to Leary, he's like, either you're going to go wild because you refuse to acknowledge the pain, or you have to acknowledge the pain in order to form this bond with her. There's no, because it's going to rip you wide open. There's no way.
Yeah.
And Raeve ends up going feral because she's like, it's so much easier to just be this like feral beast. And she just has to like ride Leary. Leary kills something. They both eat the raw meat. She drops back on Leary. Like,
I have to be honest with you. When I was reading this like part where she's like eating it and she's like, I'm just enjoying this. My brain was like, I kind of get it though, because it's easier than like to just be like, yeah, whatever, like instinctual versus like actually having like human emotions. It's like, this is why animals are like, cool, whatever. I ate, I went to bed. Like, so I kind of understood it and was like, this is rough. I was like,
stop looking at my soul.
Like, God, I just want to eat the raw meat. Leave me alone. Yeah. And then isn't Kaan like trying to like tame her? He's like, it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. And my brain was like, it was just like,
so Kaan had
like
agreed,
a drumstick, just
Kaan had agreed not to interfere, which he did, and he's like watching her actively going wild, and he's like, okay,
because the longer she stays wild, I don't think you can bring her back, right? Yeah. Like there was a point where the transformation became only wild and you were never going. And he was like, no, I'm going to bring her back. Don't you worry. And like my brain was like, why can't there be real men like you? Like I feel like this is only written in fucking books.
Listen, I love my husband, but Kaan
he's so patient.
He is. And Kaan ends up not interfering, but he ends up camping at a waterfall and he just spends his days out there. Raygun is nearby. Far enough away, but he's still kind of nearby. And he just keeps like, Raeve notices him while they like have a fresh kill in front of them and she's like eating. And then she looks up and she sees Kaan in all his beautiful nakedness in the water. And she's like, must have.
Yes. I was like, yes. The crazy part was that like, is this the scene where she like looks up, but then she also looks back to
Leary?
Okay. I was like blanking the name for a second. I told you the names are like not my, and then Leary's just eating away like whatever. Do you, girl, do you? Like,
yeah. And see, when she showed up to the thing, she like strips down, gets in the water, and she immediately like tries to jump Kaan. And Kaan's like, listen, as much as I would love to do this,
I know every time I'm like, Kaan, just do her. Like, and I'm usually like, ew, they had sex again. I like God.
But I love this in Kaan where he's like, I want this more than anything. I want to be with her, but I want her. I don't want this half person.
I know.
Just like he did that in When the Moon Hatched, where she's like, stop looking at me like I matter to you. And he's like, this isn't happening if I can't look at you that way. And it's the same here where he's like, I'm not going to just be with you because you're wanting to be with me on instinct because we're this like mated pair that you're just going to like satiate yourself and leave. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to just be this thing for you. And so he ends up like washing her and she's like, we've never done this before. And he's like, no, we haven't, but it's okay.
No, it's not. I was like, no. I was like, I get it, girl. You like want to rub on him. You're like, just rub me until it happened.
I saved the quote.
You did. I was wondering if you did. I was like, did she save it?
I texted Star the second I read this quote because the things that Kaan says to her are constantly
Katie's
just like
they're going to be like little and written on my walls.
Pretty much. But she's like, basically Rave's like, why do you even put up with me? Like, why would, out of all the things that I do, the bad things I've done, the way I treat you, like, why do you still want me, basically? And he says, true love doesn't expire, Raeve. It clings to you like a weight, even when you're drowning. And I'm like, oh my God, Kaan.
Katie's like, honey, we need to get remarried. I have new vows for us.
You have to say to me, though. I have a few quotes I want you to say.
To me, not to you. You're not going to be saying it to him. You want him to say it to you. That's great.
I just have a list.
I hope your husband doesn't watch this. He's going to be like, screw her.
Don't worry, he doesn't. He just sets up everything and is like, I did my part. He's very supportive. Don't worry.
No, he is. I was just meaning, I could just picture him being like.
There's so many times where I'm like, I mentioned you again. He's like, okay.
What's really funny is like he's over there like, did you see what she said about me?
He's like, there were a couple times where I was like, hey, I said this about our sex life. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, whatever.
Texting his best friend. How dare she? Did you see this bullshit?
He doesn't care. Like I told you, my husband, if he was to get drunk, would be the first one naked. Like, just anybody, he doesn't care who he's around. And it's not in a sexual way. He just doesn't care.
No, he's just
very happy with himself. So he doesn't care if I talk about him.
He's a blonde man. He needs to calm down.
He's a blonde man that I love very much. Kaan ends up declaring they're together, and basically he's telling Raeve, like, this is happening. Leary, like, very obviously is like, yes, this is a good thing for you too. And so Kaan pulls her back out of that wildness while also allowing that bond to solidify and kind of calm her while that all happens between her and Leary. After that, Kaan had mentioned that when she was ready, he would love to receive her Ulu. And I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but Ulu was the name of, like, the tribe leader. So I think it's Alu, which is it's like the female version of the Malmar. And what?
Nothing. I don't think that's how you say it. And my brain is like, I don't remember it, but my brain is like dying right now.
Does it say in the front of the book how you're supposed to pronounce it?
I don't know. Sometimes it does, but I swear it sounded different in the book.
Well, I don't remember. This doesn't even say, like...
Plus, it doesn't help that it sounds very Hawaiian, and it was, like, throwing me off because I'm like, that's funny.
That's true. It does sound... well, I mean, it is tribal, so, like, I guess it kind of makes sense that, like, Alu, the Jakul way of answering the honor of wearing a gifted Malmar. A thin braid of hair freely given, secured in the receiver's hair. The tightness of the braid declares much about intentions. So I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm going to say Alu and hope that is semi-near.
Now I want to go back on the audio
it's
and like
UHLLO.
I know, but you'd be surprised.
UHLOO. I know it probably pronounced something else, but they're like get back to the place they were just hanging out at with Pyrock and Roan, but they're not there at this point. And she ends up, they're like talking on the cedar, and she ends up braiding her hair and putting it in his. So she ends up giving him the Alu, and Kaan is visibly like, oh my God, she does love me.
Oh my God.
So the big part about the area that they're in that's like protected is that it's like wild molten maw territory. Like you don't go through there without dying at the claws of a molten maw. Even when they're flying in that direction on Raegon, Raeve was like, should we like turn around or like go around this? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. And she's like, okay, that's not good. We do get to see Kazari trying to get out. Nee showing up was actually like a boosting thing for her. It helped kind of get her to feel a little less hopeless and alone while she had Nee. And she ends up getting like a thing of chicken bones, and she gets them down so she can files them down to be lock picks and stuff. And she tries to get out with them. She will also end up losing those. So she'll be trying to pick the lock, and Arkin shows up and takes the picks from her. And then she tries to hide Nee, but Nee ends up getting ripped in half by Arkin, which that destroyed me more than a lot of this book, was just the fucking paper lark getting ripped in half. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
I don't know. I did destroy me, but it was mostly because of like, that was like, she kept trying to tell him like that was like her mother, like the last thing from her mother or whatever.
Yeah.
It was more like the heartfeltness of it. Like, how dare you just like, cause didn't at one point she try to put it in her mouth to try to hide it from him?
No, she like put it underneath her palate, and then she tried to like sit on Nee and like hide her. But I don't think she ever put her in her mouth. Regardless, she was genuinely so scared about losing Nee, because that was kind of her one like last bit of hope.
That's why I thought maybe I don't remember why I thought like.
I'm not sure. She did try to hide Nee in a bunch of different ways.
Did.
And it worked for a while.
Because he just kept like pushing. I don't know why. I swear I need more caffeine.
Yeah. We left Vey out on the plains after Tyros' dragon died. And she escapes a bunch of different creatures. She fights them off, but she's actively has this festering wound that she at one point cuts out to try to get some of the infection out and stuff. Like, so the stuff that these Fae have to deal with is just so fucked up.
It's not as bad as like our parents. Oh, just burn it. Just burn it.
That was never my parent.
Oh, man.
My parents were like,
my parents were like lighter and a needle
Oh
and
my
just kept
God.
fucking like, we'll get it, don't you worry.
Jesus.
like you never got the Vicks rub for everything?
No.
Oh, all right. Well, my parents
mom-
are old school, and my dad's like, Vicks rub cures it all, head to toe, slathered in Vicks rub.
My mom is also a pharmacist.
It didn't even matter though. Like, you got an ass beating, let's rub some Vicks on
That's
it.
how my papa on my dad's side was like that. It was just Vicks Vapor Rub. Like he like snorts it when you're like, no, don't do that.
100% I swear to God, somebody along the way was like, this is how you cure everything. Vicks Vapor Rub. It reminds me of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where like the dad's like, Windex cures everything. I don't know where our parents got this from, but I swear to God, at some point, Vicks Vapor Rub cured everything.
Cures everything.
I swear to God, there was like, especially because my dad's Polynesian, I swear there's like some weird like cultural thing where they're
Probably.
like, no, it's fine.
It's just a Vicks Vapor Rub.
Head to toe, rub that shit on you.
So Vea she ended up closing herself in a cave with using Boulder. And she wakes up and she's being dragged by these masked figures away. And she ends up in Arkan's clutches this way. She gets taken in and she gets put in the cell and she's next to Kazari. And she's like, oh shit. And she has the diary is bound underneath her shirt. And she ends up getting taken to a mind whiff that Arkan has. And they're trying to dig through her mind to figure out what she knows. And she gets back into the cell and she has these runes burned into her temples to keep her from sleeping so that when the next time the mind weft goes into her, she's too exhausted to fight back. She tells Kazari, she's like, I have something for you and you need to read it before I die, or before he finds out and uses the information against us. And that's when Kazari finds out that her mom's still alive and Kaan's actually her dad.
This was gonna break you. This is when I thought that Katie was gonna start to be like, fuck this.
The thing that actually broke me was the more that Kaan, the more he talked to him, Borg, and the memory of Kaan with Vea, because he was looking for Vea and stuff and was trying to find information. He also was looking for moon shards because he's still trying to get Slatra put back together. And the one thing that really tore me apart for the information about that moon shard, which they found out was in a moon plume's nest, not a moon plume, a molten maw's nest, was the memory of when Vea was born and his mom died.
Yeah.
And he remembers his dad just like, Austin was like, take the kid, blah, 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 like walked off. And then he walked in because he's like, well, why is she not with her mom?
Yeah.
And then he walked in and sees that she's dead. And then he like lays Vea on his chest and then wraps her arms around her so that she can have the embrace of her mother for at least one time in her life. And I was just like, so close to sobbing in the break room. Like I was just like, oh my God. That was the real, like the first time I almost cried was when Bogart died. And Bogart died. And then the second one was this time. This one almost brought me to tears. This is about halfway through the book. I think this is what
most people I think cry at. I didn't get to the end and then I was like, holy fuck, this just happened.
Yeah, I didn't cry till the end. And it was surprising the thing that ended up was more of a heartfelt thing than it was a sad thing.
That's what I think it was for me too. Like, not that I cried because I don't do that, but but inside my soul it was crying.
Yeah. So then with Vea and Kazari there, they kind of have someone to lean on, but she's like, I know that something's going to happen and Arkan's going to find all this information out and he's going to use it. I don't think they know that Raeve was the Firelark yet at this point. It's not until later when Arkan says that it doesn't matter if Vea lives because he has a host for the Aether Stone and he needs that Aether Stone back on Raeve for reasons. So Borg tells Kaan where the moon shard is, and that is when the other is present and she finds that out and Slatra's like, we have to go get that egg. And Kaan's like, what is happening to Raeve right now? He's like, there's something other about her. And Kaan interacts with her. They go to collect the moon shard and Slatra comes out and while they're looking out, he's like, oh, I think it's like that one. And she's like, no, it's that one. And Rave's like, there's just something calling to me. And when it's going to happen, Kaan wakes up and Raeve is fully other. And Slatra is like, I'm going to go get my moon shard. And he's looking at her like, Raeve, and he's like, she tries to go out there like completely barefoot, no cloak or anything like that. He's like, you need to bundle up, like you're gonna freeze. But she's a moon plume, so she's like, I don't need anything. So he follows her, and Slatra goes and like gets it. And then they have this interaction where that's when Kaan finds out that Slatra is like inside her.
Yes.
And he calls her, or she calls him like mate of my precious one. And it's just like, and he's like, wait, Slatra? And she's like, yeah. She's like, so that's like their, and then all of the fire going on around them. That's when he sees all of the actual burn, the runes and everything, because Rave's not able to hide it because she's the other at this point. So all of this was just crazy.
Right.
This whole section.
But it was really like, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The writing was great.
It was beautiful. And then at the same time, the fucking bloodbind from Sareem has been coming back, which I was kind of wondering what was going to happen with this, because it's like she escapes it because everyone thinks she's dead. And then all of a sudden she just has this scraping pain down her back. And it's like, oh shit, I can't avoid this. So she gets she runs into this dude out in the snow, and he's like, oh, you need to go kill this guy, bring back his eyes and his heart to Sareem. And all you know is that he has silver hair and he's behind these gold doors with the suns on them. And she's like, well, why am I killing him? And he's like, it will save the flourish. That's all we can tell you, is that the Ath will fall if we don't have this. And she's like, okay. So then she's like,
just like, not enough information to be like murder.
But props to Raeve, because Raeve says that, okay, I can't not tell Kaan. I have to tell him that this is something I have to do. And she's trying to figure out how to do that. And at the same time, that's when Kaan says he has to go to get that moon shard and everything and go in that direction anyways. So they all end up going, kind of coalescing to that same kind of point that they're going to go to. And then she ends up finding him, and it's a child. And she had like slaughtered all of these people, and there was a ton of Fade men, soldiers there, guarding him. So she walks in, she's like, well, I'm not killing a child. So then she's like, okay, let's go. Let's get out of here. And he is crazy. He's a mind weft for as much as we know, but he's got way more power. Like, he can read their minds. He's very knowledgeable on runes. He's had unlimited access to the Book of Void. So we learned that he was Tyroth's protege that he sold to the Tri-Council. We also learned over time that Vea was being used basically as like a sex slave for Tyroth. He would like sell her off to whoever he needed at the time. And she even said like the Tri-Counselor didn't think I was very good at it or whatever. And that just breaks Vea's heart. She's like, I keep looking at her like she's a child, but a long time ago her innocence was taken. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, no wonder she sold, like a year ago she decided to give herself over to the creators, because then Tyroth couldn't do anything. It was just like, oh my God. Everything about this hurts. They end up going and they get the target, which is Avi, and he had wanted a molten maw egg, so he's got a molten maw egg that hatches right when Rave's there, and she's like, dope. So now not only have I a child I have to take care of, I also have a baby dragon that I got to take care of on top of it.
I swear I'm not tired. I'm just not caffeinated.
No, you're fine. He tells Raeve that he can undo her bloodbind because he sees her in pain and all this kind of stuff. They also run into Kaan, because Kaan's like was getting drawn out there, and she's like, oh. He's like, yeah, there's a bunch of Fade soldiers out there, and they're going to try to get Kaan. And she's like... So Pyrock and Kaan end up like getting stuck. There's like a whole battle happens, but they end up stuck in nets, and they're trying to get out. And then Raeve comes, and Avi's there, and like all this kind of stuff. They end up escaping, and then they go back to Erythia, I believe. And they go to the not to Erythia. They go to the Undercity because they need to go to the exact spot that her bloodbind happened. What had happened basically was that she had escaped from Arkan. She'd wandered the plains and then had fallen down this mine shaft, which is what all the Undercity is. It's basically a bunch of mine shafts. And Sareem had found her there, and that's when it happened, but she was near death. So they end up having to do this, and they are like, can't take Arkan, and we can't take she's like, we have to take Arkan, but we can't take this baby dragon around. He's just going to start squealing. And Pyrock's like, yeah, I can take care of the dragon. She ends up taking them back to her dwelling that we had first met her in, basically. And when the moon hatched, we know that the top half had been caught on fire, and below she had lived in like the lower area with the trapdoor. And she's like, tells Pyrock, do not go through the trapdoor. And Pyrock's like, okay. And then he hears a bunch of stuff going on up there, and he's like, well, what if something happens up there and I need to go see it? So then he goes up there, and Essie, who we thought was dead, is actually alive.
Yeah.
Everything's still burnt. They're like, Essie didn't do anything. she's been gone. Rave's been gone for a while, and Essie didn't do anything to like get rid of like the soot and everything. She's just kind of living in it. But it also, we find out that she's actually an elding bird, which is huge. So Arkin has an elding bird, and the elding birds they're kind of just like phoenixes.
Yes.
Essentially, but just like larger. And they also have a human form as well. This whole thing was wild to me. Like, I still don't understand. So I was going to ask you, this is kind of skipping ahead, but so Arkin has an elding bird that watches over everything. It watched Raeve get tortured all those times. It's still watching when eventually Kaan gets kidnapped and all this kind of stuff. And Essie, we find out, is an elding bird. We also find out that Arkin is an elding bird as well, because she gets revived by fire. But there was a female that was frozen next to him with red hair. That was his elding bird. Is that Essie, or do all elding birds just have red hair?
I think they all have red hair.
Okay. Because I was like, there's no way that was Essie.
No, I don't think so.
But I'm like, but what happened? So Essie and Pyrock, so there's a lot of stuff going on. So
well, no, that's why I don't think so, because there was just so much like that would have been like a real, like you would have had to really, really, really be paying attention.
Yeah, right. And she also would have known Raeve was alive at this point, right? No, because she hadn't been caught yet. Interesting. I don't know. I don't understand. Because I was like, well, could Essie
I don't
be
know.
like...
This story was like...
It's so wild.
Way too much. Is there another one after this?
Yes, there's going to be more. I don't know how many there are.
Because I feel like, I don't know. Maybe it'll get explained. I don't know. I don't think so. I thought they all were.
That's because I think, does Arkin have red hair?
I thought so.
Okay. I couldn't remember because I was like, maybe he does have red hair. But he's also like burnt to a crisp on like half of his face. So I was very confused about that because he had obviously been Igneos had been used on him. But if he's like revived by fire, like how does that work? Or is it only because maybe his elding bird had saved him at one point? So then now he has like the elding bird blood. I don't know. I'm like so
As you're saying that, I was like, I don't think so. My thought was like maybe it was a ruin or something that like
maybe I don't. Yeah, like why did I'm just confused. I was so confused about this whole ending, but we haven't even gotten there yet.
I know. I'm like I don't know. Like
this is gonna be like one of our worst aimless attention podcasts. We're hitting the points. There's nowhere in order, and I've got so many things to talk about.
Well, this is the hardest book to like. Even with the outline, I'm like, wow, we're not even seriously close to on track.
I feel like with like Kingdom of Ash and because we just our SJM coverage, our Throne of Glass coverage, was that Kingdom of Ash was difficult because of how many character POVs there were, but like Empire of Storms was really difficult in that way, and Heir of Fire was the worst because everybody was on their own doing things. And I think that's part of why this book is so hard, is because when the Moon Hatched was hard because you had the present and the past that were going on at the same time. But this one's harder because you have so many character POVs with so much going on, and none of them are together except for like you have Raeve, Pyrock, and Rowan together for a while. Then Pyrock splits off, and now he's got all this stuff going on with Essie, who like he's got a weird bond with. Yeah. Almost seems like a mating bond type thing, but even though like mates aren't like totally a thing in this, like it's very confusing. And then like they go off to go get her bloodbind removed, which that was super sad to watch Kaan's POV of, because in order for them to reverse the bloodbind, she had to get back to the physical point she was at when it happened, and she was near death. And Kaan recognizes in that moment that it's happening because she's hollowing out and everything. It had been like weeks of her, first of all, being malnourished from being in Arkin's hold, getting injured, fighting in the pits, all this kind of stuff. Then she ran away, had no food, and was like going through these barren areas that nobody should survive. Fallon didn't survive. She died. And then gets to this point, and Sereem's like, I'll save you. Just give me some of your blood. And Raeve waited to the very last moment. She was like one heartbeat away from dying before she finally gave over her blood because she chose to live. And Avi in this moment, because he binds her to the Book of Void, because the Book of Void's like immortal basically in its own way. He says like, you have to choose to live. This has to be your choice. You have to willingly bind your blood. And Raeve says, I do choose to live. She like looks at Kaan when she says it, and I'm just like, oh my God, like my heart. But having to watch Kaan watch her get to that point, and she was so terrified of showing that to him because she's like, I don't want him to see me in this weak space. Just like this whole part just broke me. And then she binds herself to the book, and she ends up coming back in this Halsey form. It was all actually a trap set. And there's like a shroud that drops, and there's a ton of soldiers there that had watched the whole thing happen. Sereem's there as well. They pin Kaan. Avi and Raeve are both passed out. and these are all Arkan's people. We found out Sareem's been working with Arkan, that the Elding who was over all the Fear Da'ath was Arkan, and it was like a whole scheme the entire time just to keep Raeve like in their clutches. So Sareem ends up drugging Kaan so that he can't have his connection with Raigan, and he's pinned so he can't talk to the creators. They kidnap all of them and take them back to Argan's clutches. And that's kind of where we'll leave off for a second because I want to talk about some other stuff. So Grim, who is the second in command, he's off getting his other dragon was the goal. He ends up going through it. There's a ton of stuff that happens with him, but he ends up in the dragon's nest, and they find out that while the earth had been rumbling, a giant stone had rolled into the nest and squashed all the eggs, as well as, or the remnants of the eggs and the babies that had just hatched. And so he goes up, and there's a big kind of theme that's been talked about throughout this book where if you're going to take something, you need to offer something too. Because that's one of the Jakul tribe's like big things. And a lot of people just go steal an egg and just leave these dragons with this hole in their heart because of this young that they didn't get to have. And Kaan's like, you're supposed to leave something for them as like a trade for it, basically. And so his thing is like, I should have died with my dragon in the first place. This is Grim. He's like, I should have died with my dragon in the first place. The Fate Herder had kind of guided me here. And I was meant to come here, and it's probably because I'm supposed to die because I didn't protect my dragon. I left him on the plains. And then he takes the pieces of shell and he covers the eyes of the babies because he's like, the worst thing you can come back to is having to see someone who no longer sees you anymore. And I was like, oh, God. And that dragon ends up coming back, and she's a silver molten maw or silver saber scythe, and she's huge. She's almost Raigan sized. And she ends up actually like seeing kind of the bravery and the defiance in him, and sees what he had done with her young and was like, no, I like you. There's some reason we were drawn together. And so then they end up bonding. And as they fly into the sky, they go past the silver ribbon, and we find out through that dragon's POV. That was random. Like, I was just like, what the fuck?
I don't think it was too random.
It wasn't random. It was supposed to happen. But we find out that the silver ribbon is part of Kalis. And that the silver ribbons that are floating throughout, because Kalis was torn apart when he got put into that Aether Stone. So the Aether Stone holds Kalis, and Star was watching me. I pulled out When the Moon Hatched right before we did this because I wanted to remember what the origin of Kalis was, because I could remember like boulder formed the ground and rain filled the rivers and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like I could remember all of them, but I couldn't. I was like, Kalis for some reason was bad. Like they wanted to suppress him in some way. And it was because he was overall like the beginning of everything. He existed as the ether, and he was in the prologue, he's the canvas for which all of the other creators built upon. So I'm so excited. Like I said at the end of When the Moon Hatched, to learn more about Kalis, because he seems like such an interesting creator, and the only person that can speak with him is Kazari because he's in the Aether Stone. So, but it was so wild to kind of find there's more to Kalis than just being in that stone, and more of him that's trying to come back together over time. Yeah. Raeve and Kaan are kidnapped by Arkan, and basically he's like, I have my Firelark back. He beats the shit out of Kazari till she's like almost dead because he wants.
Don't get that. Like,
he wants the Aether Stone.
I know, but he like this whole fucking story. This is when I was like, I'm over it.
I know. It gets really bad here.
Really bad.
Kaan is completely chained up, gagged, can't do anything. He's watching Raeve have these interactions with Arkan, and Arkan has like a dinner he sets up for them. And Vea again had spent 3 days without getting to sleep, and the Mind Weft was able to get the information about the diary. They found the diary in Kazari's cell, and Arkan takes it as contraband. And with Kaan and Raeve at that dinner, he's like, I found out some very interesting information. So this is a massive lore dump, and it is so hard to watch Kaan's reaction to all of this.
No, like, dude, like this is like, oh.
Like this is all a revelation to Raeve as well. But Raeve knows, while it's painful for her to find out information here, she knows there's a lot of stuff about her past that she's not willing to recognize, that she's been pushing down, that if she only looked, she could find. So I think partly for her, while it's hard, it's like, I also could have figured this out myself if I would have just done it, you know?
But you don't want to. There's a reason why you shove that shit down into the abyss.
So he reveals that he's actually the oldest Vaegor brother.
Which, he's a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve to be anything.
He starts reading the diary in front of them. So he like summarizes the beginning. Then he's like, oh, these are some really interesting parts.
Yeah.
So Eowyn was pregnant when she came here.
Oh my God, here's some really interesting shit. Like,
yeah.
This one, I'm telling you, I was literally
So
screaming
bad.
on the inside.
Yeah. And Kaan's like, Oster Vaegor figured out she was pregnant, said, you need to go marry Tyroth and bind with him before he figures it out. He threatened to kill Slatra and all this kind of stuff. And Kaan is just distraught. Because not only did he lose Raeve, he lost Eowyn thinking that Eowyn didn't love him when Eowyn loved him more than anything in the world at this point. But she wanted to protect him, and that's why she left. And then Kaan finds out he's been watching his horrible brother do and say terrible things to his daughter, not knowing it was his daughter, and that Arkin beat her nearly to death, and that she's just in a cell downstairs and like has not gotten to have any time with her parents outside of like knowing her uncle. The last interaction that Kazari and Kaan had was her saying like, I'm in love with Kaelis and stuff, and Kaan kind of like brushing her off and being like, yeah, little one, okay, like moving on. And Vea did the same thing to her.
Yes,
this
one just killed me inside.
And this is when Raeve ends up, in order to help save Kaan yet again, agrees to be his Firelark again. And Kaan is watching her. She's like, I'm yours, Arkin. You can do with me what you want. And Kaan's watching with wide eyes, thinking he's about to watch the love of his life get raped, right?
But that's what I thought. I was like, what the fuck is happening
you know
right
what
now?
I felt like? I felt like leave me behind. I was like, no, don't do this to me.
No, I genuinely was like super concerned. I was like in the IV room going, what the fuck is happening right now?
But Raeve immediately, I mean, it's pretty quick that Rave's like, Kaan thinks that he's going to take sexual liberties with me, but he's never done any of that with me. His intimacy is something way different. And that's when he starts burning her. And she's tied down to the table, and Kaan just has to watch her just flailing while she gets burned to death, like burned down to the bone.
Yeah.
But she during that time goes, I'm going to go do something that I have not wanted to do. And she goes down into her icy lake. The other comes up to deal with what's going on. And she goes down to relearn Ignos's language because that's the one language she's been too terrified to use. The one creator she's been too terrified to speak to. And she can speak to all of the creators. My question is, can she speak to Kaelis too? Because she did have the Aether Stone on at one point. Does she still have that capability potentially?
Like, you'd think that even if you don't have the stone, you can still speak to him?
That's what I'm wondering. Because she's the only person who has survived the Aether Stone. Because she died, so it came off. So like, I wonder, because she does have that kind of connection with Kaelis later.
That'd be a real trip if that's like.
So I'm very interested to see more. After that, she is basically told, hey, you're going to go into the fighting pits. I need you to put on a show, and then I need you to kill Kaan Vaegor, and then I'm going to take his crown in the burn. And she's like, okay. And this reminded me of spoiler warning for the Powerless trilogy. You haven't read it. But this is this very kind of a similar, like, oh, you're on the battlefield in an arena with the person you love type of thing happens in Fearless. And I was just like, no, not again, not again, not again. Because I genuinely was so terrified during that. And Kaan has to watch like the first fights that happen. And then she walks out in her Firelark outfit, which this honestly was there, and they're all chanting Firelark, Firelark, Firelark. And you did that at work the other day.
Tell me that's not like you don't want to just be like, I would love it.
You weren't even listening to the book at the time, I don't think, because you had already finished it. She comes around the corner and she's like, Firelark, Firelark.
Because I was just having like a STEM moment and was like, I love the Firelark. Like that would be something I would totally get like tattooed or something. Like, I don't know why I love it. I'm just like, yeah.
If it wasn't so horrifying.
I don't know why I think it was because she's just so like, I don't know.
Well, it genuinely is
like,
really
that's somebody
cool.
I would want to dress as if I went to, like, if I had money to, like, pick a costume.
Like do a
I
cosplay
would totally do a cosplay of Firelark.
Well, and that's the thing is that, like, Raeve as the Firelark, which to an audience that has no idea what forged her to be the Fire Lark is really cool.
Right?
Like she has
That's
like
probably why I was
white,
like stemming and was just like Fire Lark.
it was like the white outfit with the silver breastplate and the shoulder stuff and then the helmet and then the wings behind her. Like that's really fucking cool that she's gonna go fight the Raza and she looks like this. But then on the back you're like, oh, she's trained. She's got her armor on because she was burned to the bone. I'm just like, Jesus. Like it's all terrible. I'm like Fire Lark. I do think I was breaking boxes down. It was just like I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I step on certain words. You had the CRT bags, and just, so you were. I don't remember why. I just was like it was like that was the STEM word of the day. Well, and I hadn't gotten anywhere near this part yet, and so I didn't know that they were like chanting Fire Lark. I thought you were just doing Fire Lark, Fire Lark.
No, I think I heard it and like it was one of those things, you know how like sometimes like I just get stuck and I'm just like, that's the stem of the day. I think it was one of those things where I was doing something and I was like, I think I was probably thinking like, burn this fucking place down. And then it was like Fire Lark, Fire Lark.
I was sitting there like I hadn't gotten anywhere near any of this happening. And so I was just sitting there like, Firelark's not a good term. Why are you shouting it over there? So now I know why she was doing that, but I just thought it was kind of funny.
Stem of the day.
Stem of the day. She ends up agreeing to Arkin's plan. She shows up, and then Kaan gets put into the arena, and Kaan's looking at her like, I can't do this. And so then she's like, Slatra is out. That's really who's there. And Slatra's like, you have to, for my precious one, you have to pretend to fight her. And she calls her precious little one all the time because she was a little one when she found her. It was kind of like a second child she had because Alum, who was her actual baby dragon that Hadeon had gotten, was obviously Hadeon's dragon at that point. So she did kind of get to stay with her youngling, which was kind of cool. But anyways, she calls Eowyn her precious young one or precious little one the whole time. And Kaan's like, I can't fight her. And then they kind of end up like fighting. He's like, I can fight her with a sword because at least I'm just hitting the sword. I'm not hitting Raeve. And then finally he gets down and like straddles her, I think. And then she like holds a blade to his throat, all that kind of stuff. Like they're fighting. He puts his forehead on her and says, I love you, Rafe. You're in there. I love you. I hope you can hear me. And then eventually Raeve does come back out and she says, I love you too. And then they kiss and then they don't fight. And then basically she turns back and she looks up at the balcony and obviously Arkin's pissed because he's like, this is not what was supposed to happen. This is what was supposed to happen.
Was supposed to kill each other.
And Arkin had was like, oh, he's like, I should have killed Kaan, but it's way more fun to bloodlust with him. And just like tear into him little bits at a time. So he had just gotten like his lung punctured right before he went out to go fight with Raeve. So he can't breathe very well. He's obviously injured. He's been using every last bit of strength to fight off his connection with Rhaegon because he does not want Rhaegon flying in because it's too cold for him. And Raeve turns up to the balcony and starts using Ignos and Boulder, who hate each other because Boulder's like, Ignos just tries to melt me all the time and I hate that. And Boulder can snuff out Ignos. So it's like a whole thing they have going on. And she uses them together. And both the creators are like not happy about it. But there's a point where they kind of look at each other and they're like shake hands and they're like, let's do this. And they form into the form of those creators to take down the balcony. And it shakes all the building. And she's like, I would love for all of these people to die because they bloodlust after all of these horrible things happening to these Fae that there's no reason they should be here. She ends up kind of losing herself to it. Rhaegon starts breaking into the top of it. The entire time Kaan's trying to pull her back because he's like, our daughter is down below these tunnels. We can't let everything collapse at this point. During this time though, Kazari is holding Vea is holding Kazari, who's death rattling at this point, and is like, you are so loved, like all this kind of stuff. I was expecting that to make me cry and it didn't. Is that bad of me?
No,
I was sitting there
because I think I expected you to cry for that. Like,
I didn't cry. I was fully expecting it to.
Usually Katie's like bawling halfway through the books, like, so I'm surprised half of this shit didn't make her cry.
No, this wasn't it. It was I
feel like if we actually had audience participation, they would be like, Katie, what's wrong with you?
I know the things that I thought were going to make me cry. I was sad about them. Don't get me wrong. This was a very sad moment to watch with Thea, but there was something in me that I was like, there's no way they're killing off Kazari yet. Like I just like, there's no way. I was like, there has to, especially after with the moon hatch, when the only thing we really got from Kazari in that book was I'm in love with the creator. And then like she was gone for the rest of the book until the Scavenger King. I was like, there has to be something more to this. And so to have her die, I was like, no, like I need more. So I was like, I was just willing it to not be true.
You were willing it to not happen.
So I was like, no.
It's not written in page already. You're just like, no.
So yeah, I was like, this isn't happening. Uno, who was Sareem's Muskin, ends up getting Vea and Kazari out, and they end up getting out into the snow and stuff. And this is when Kalis comes out. So she's at the end. The moons start kind of falling, and Uno's like, you need to hide behind a rock. That's what you need to do, Vea. And Vea's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving her by herself. And this is a moment where I was like, the Muskin has done everything for you, has made sure you got out of this. Listen to the fucking Muskin, okay? Like, good God. And so, or Miskin or whatever. And so this is when Kalis comes out of the Aether Stone and he heals Kazari. And he's got like his big silver wings and he's like speaking with her and like embracing her. And she's like, oh shit, I should not have been mean to her about the whole thing that she was in love with Kalis. Obviously, Kalis cares for her too.
Yeah.
At the exact same time, Kaan is looking at Raeve, and Arkin actually somehow survived the whole being attacked by Ignos and Boulder at the same time and is flying out on his Elding Bird. And she's like looking up at it and he's like, only one of us can go. Like, do you want to go and get him or do you want to go? And this is the moment where she chooses life and she doesn't choose revenge. She chooses to chase life and go to her daughter. And so Reigen takes Kaan out to go get Arkin, and then she goes to go find Kazari.
Yeah. And
she will get the battle with Argan and Kaan, and I expected to cry during that too, and I didn't. But Kaan's like, take me up in the sky with you. I was like, bitch, no. We haven't gotten all this way. I know Reigen's like your purse. I know Reigen's your dragon and everything, but like he's like, just take me up in the sky with you. I want us to die together. And I'm like, no, you don't, Kaan. Raeve is right there. Kazari's right there. You don't want to die. Like... I don't know
the way you like me. I was like, oh my God, God. Like,
I felt really bad for him. Don't get me wrong, but I also was like, it felt weird for Kaan to
surreal.
It didn't seem like Kaan to me to just be like, take me into the sky with you. I was like,
but
he's
I
just
thought
talked
that
about
they were like super connected with their dragons like that.
Oh, they are.
Isn't that why like Raeve is who she is?
Yeah, and we'll talk about Slatra in a second, actually, because there's a lot to talk about with Slatra. The bird, he disconnects Arkin's head from his body, so that his soul can't come back into his body, which is what's supposed to happen when
really
they do
weird.
That. Mm-hmm. And then the Elding Bird transforms into a human beside him, and Reigen ends up not having enough strength to go back up into the sky, so he just curls his claw around Kaan and then curls into a moon with him, and that's where we leave Kaan. We see Raeve walking up to Kazari and Kalis, and Kalis looks over his shoulder and sees her and is like, is this like recognition where Kalis like gives her some of his pain and like the agony that he's dealt with being in the stone, the love that he feels for Kazari and all this stuff. And there's like this mutual understanding the two of them have. So that's why I'm wondering if Kalis would be able to do this with other people or only with Raeve and Kazari, because there is that connection that she did have the Aether Stone for so long.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm not sure. But she ends up going and she walks through Kalis and into Kazari's arms. And that is their reuniting. And then at that point, once Kalis goes back in the Aether Stone, Kazari drops. And then Raeve says for the first time, I caught her. And I was like, oh my God. Like, just hurts. So that kind of is the end of the big battles. And they're like resting after this and getting mended and everything. And that's kind of towards the end of the book. And she's chosen her family and stuff. But there is a lot brimming. The twins obviously are going to be a problem. Later we'll find out that Arkin is like resurrected by Sareem. Sareem was actually in love with Arkin and like had been sleeping with him and all this kind of stuff and thought that was what was going to happen, and she was trying to like angle to be his queen. It's all, and then the book ends. I'm just going to say the book ending because I want to go back to Slatra and end on Slatra because that whole thing is crazy. But Sareem resurrects him, and then when the moons were falling, when Kalis was there, Hadion's wonky moon of Illum dropped. And we remember that Illum had taken Hadion up into the sky with him. And when it fell, I was sitting there like, is Hadion going to do the same thing Raeve did?
I was wondering the same thing, but I was like, I'm not good enough at like reading into the book to be like, that's what's happening. Like I was just like, Katie will tell me.
So this guy walks up and he's covered in fur, and it says the world looks very different than when he was last riding his moon plume. And he's got silver white hair. Yeah. And just like his mom. Yeah. And he looks at Serene and she says, Hadion Navon. And I was like, yep, there he is. So I am so interested to see what happens with that. Because I was like, Hadion's back.
Because I was like, is he back? Like, I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand these books. Sometimes I'm like, they confuse me.
I thought it was Grimm. Because I couldn't remember what Grimm looked like.
Yeah. But these books confuse the shit out of me. Like, I'll be like, was he back? Or is he like, because like Raeve didn't come back as Raeve. Or I mean, she came back as Raeve. She didn't come back as Elion.
Yeah.
So like, is he going to come back as a different name? See, this is where they get all confused. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
So
like,
I don't know how the impact of everything affects it, right? So Hadion had died by poisoning from Vea, and Illum took him up into the sky. So the reason why I'm ending with this, so we can go back to Slatra, is because Slatra was touched by a silver ribbon, and we learned that during one of the, I think in the others POVs in When the Moon Hatched, or it might have been in this book, I can't remember. But she talks about how she was flying in the sky and she got touched by a silver ribbon, and that turned her hide silver. And there's not really a lot of silver moon plumes. That's not like a thing. The other thing is that Arkin, Avi, the kid that was like the protege and everything, he had silver hair and silver eyes. Kalis is completely silver with silver eyes. So all of the things that are silver appear to have been touched by Kalis in some way. So
see, I think you have to read the book to catch that. I did not catch that.
Yeah.
I think listening to the audio, even though like you just miss parts.
Yeah, that's
true. Because I'm like, what?
I genuinely thought about switching to audio to finish this book, and I was like, nope, I'm going to stick through.
No, you're probably better you didn't, because I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah. The reason why I point that out is because this is such a unique thing. So the Slatra took Elowin up into the sky. And what we had found out was in Slatra's POVs is that Elowin had given birth to Kizari. Yes. And they brought in the blood lace. And just as Elowin had written in her diary, the blood lace drew a line to Kaan in the north and not to Tyroth. And Ty was like, I fucking knew it. And he kills her with Boulder with a stabbing her through the back. Yeah. And takes Kizari from her. And that was when Slatra, who is blind at this time, came and got her and took her up into the sky. Slatra took that ribbon that Kalis had given her and put it into Elowin's chest. And that was what made her live. Slatra also, when they went to go get the moon shard, they said it was in the nest of a molten maw whose mate had died and solidified as a moon above her, so he had never fertilized the egg. And so she just sat on this egg that had no life in it. And when the other goes to get that moon shard, she kisses the egg and gives it life. She did the same thing to her own young because she had an egg that didn't have any life in it. She brought it back to life. So she has this innate power, and which makes sense because Kalis is the start of all life, yes. Right? He was the beginning of this world. Yeah. So I was just like, with everything came together like this, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But getting the background of Slatra and how she did this. So Illum obviously did the same thing to Hadion. Okay. Because if Hadion's alive and Illum's moon fell, Hadion came out of that shell. So does he have an other inside of him as well? Is Illum inside him bound the same way?
I don't know if it how it works. Like we'll have to see.
So I'm sure we'll get Hadion's POV in the next book, but how that's all going to work out. But the thing that made me cry was that we got towards the end of this book and Raeve finally decided, because the other had been walking back from that moon shard. She basically said to Kaan, tell my precious little one that I'm here and I'm always with her, and I'm ready to see her when she's ready to see me, because she's been avoiding her every time she goes down to the icy lake. And then she goes down and she finally just sits cross-legged across from Slatra and acknowledges her presence. And I was just like, oh my God.
That's when I figured you would be like.
And Slacha just like wraps her wing around her and pulls her in. That was what made me start sobbing. I was like, I had to like stop crying because the words were blurring. I couldn't read them. But it was just so heartwarming to finally like, Rave's been having to face hard things for this entire book, and for her to finally say, like, this is the one thing that has loved me no matter what since I was 9 phases old, and I'm finally going to accept her again. I was just like, oh my God. Just made me so sad. And yeah, that's kind of all of the wildness that was this book.
This book was a lot.
This book was a lot. We're going to get Crumble Cookie after this, just like revive ourselves. I was just in tears. I couldn't sleep for like 2 hours after I finished this book at 1 a.m. last night, just before 1 a.m. And I texted you and I was like, oh my God. And I just was like, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep. My brain is still just like on fire from this book. I loved every part of this. I don't think there were a couple times where I was like, why is this happening? And then it just came full circle. And I was like, I need to stop questioning Sarah A. Parker when she puts things in this.
I don't think I once was like, why is this happening? I was just like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. But when you listen to it on Audible, it's way different. Like I think you missed shit that you didn't. Like I didn't catch some of that. I was like, wait. But then I'm like, maybe I did. And what happens is that it goes so fast that you're just like, when you're reading it, you're like. I listen
to things like if I do an audiobook, typically if I use like one speed, if I'm wanting to enjoy it, like I'm a 1 speed type of girly.
1 speed is way too slow for me.
Yeah, but if I was doing it on the first read, I would do a 1 speed. I would probably do 1.5 on this, I think is what I ended up doing for When the Moon Hatched, to where it didn't feel like it was overwhelming. But I just hit a point where if they're talking too fast, I don't absorb it. And so
I think I do it at like 1.5, 1.6.
Yeah.
So maybe like I just miss stuff without like, but I'm also like usually at work, like listening to other people talk. So
that's true. Yeah.
Sometimes I might just miss shit just because I'm like, normally I can get like the enough of it that I'm fine. But on this one, I think I had to rewind a couple times and be like, stop fucking talking.
Well, that's why I'm really bad at multitasking that way, like with Audible stuff. Like I can do a lot of things at once, but I can't like a lot of my friends that have like toddlers and stuff, they're like, I just listen to audiobooks all day. And I'm like, I can't have an earbud in and pay attention to my kid and know what's going on in the story. I just can't do it. Like my brain does not function that way. And there's tons of moms that do it that way.
ADD because I'm like, oh yeah, and then this happened. Yeah. Like I don't know, like except for there's like little parts I guess I miss because like now I'm like I didn't catch the part with the damn silver. I didn't realize that like kind of bothers me now. But like.
Well, I'm just excited because I think all of this, honestly, is coming out to... Kalis is going to get released from that stone somehow.
Yeah.
I think Avi is going to be a part of it because Avi is... Obviously, he has some sort of Kalis touch. Like, I don't know how he got that, but he is able to... The Book of Void has to do probably with Kalis, I'm sure. And, like, Avi's one of the only people that can actually read it. Raeve, I don't think read it. I can't remember, but Kazari's going to have something to do with it. And then like that silver saber scythe has got to have something too. Cause like, why is she coming back? And she's like, this is our destiny is we have to do this. And they like flew past the silver ribbon with pieces of Kalis falling behind her. So I'm just like, oh my God, once Kalis becomes whole, like beyond just the Fae battles that are going on, how is this creator coming back going to cause like a whole thing?
Yeah,
so
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how many books there are going to be. I'm like genuinely a little scared for how many there might be because there's so much to this world that I don't know how you could do it in a trilogy. If it is a trilogy, I'm not sure.
Unless it's like thicker than that one.
And this one is okay. It's not like it's not huge print or anything like that, but it's only 537 pages or something like that.
It looks thicker than that.
I was reading it. I had 100 pages left, and I'm like, "There's no way that's only 100 pages. I counted wrong. There's no way." Yeah. And then I looked, and I'm like, "No, it's 100 pages." I was like, "How am I going to finish this fucking book?" I was like halfway through it, and I was like, "Star, I don't know if I'm going to do it by the time we have to record." But I'm glad I did. Anyways, what would you rate Ballad of Falling Dragons?
5. I forgot to rate it. I just realized that when you were talking, I was like, oh crap. I was like, I gotta go on my Goodreads.
Mm-hmm. I rated it last night. It's a 5 because I can't rate it a 6. I genuinely, I think I rated When the Moon Hatched a 6, and I would probably give this a 6 as well. This is one of the best books I've ever read. Like story wise, everything coming together, like so crazy, just beautiful story, heartbreaking. It was one of those books where you're like, can one good thing happen?
Right.
And I love Kaan and Rave's love story so much, and I think I'm excited to have them kind of move into a healthier like realm for them, and to have less of their back and forth and stuff.
Oh, but I love their back and forth because it's 100% how I talk to people. Like,
I love their back and forth, and I don't think Rave's gonna lose her spunk, but I like that Rave's no longer pushing away from him.
I agree.
I really enjoy that. So. Anyways, I'm looking forward to more of this eventually when they come out with more. That was our coverage of the Ballad of Falling Dragons. If you were watching this on YouTube, I'm going to throw up a slide so you can see where you can follow us on social media, and we will see you in the next one.